Hi, and welcome to Monday the 13th of April. This is a Confidence on Camera tutorial. We're talking about camera technique today. Uh, Something that Candice Eltingham, who's a casting director, said when she came in on Friday, and I just ran this by you moments ago. She said, auditioning this way by video, or whether it's the video submission or through Zoom or through Skype, auditioning this way could become the new normal for a while. Everyone needs to get settled and comfortable with the video audition. She talked about how, at least at her casting office, they've been locked down for a couple of weeks, and they're talking about, well, if this goes on for 4 months or 6 months, then they're going to lose touch with the actors that are here in town. So this potentially for them is an opportunity to see new people, but that'll be by video. So you can go and look at the recordings from the last 2 Mondays. They'll talk in detail about camera setup. Today, we're going to talk about how to adjust a performance for an audition. So it's still about using the camera. And the super simple version is make sure the light source, ideally a big window, is behind where your camera is. Right now, I decided not to do any fancy setup here. See, I've got a little reflected light in my eyes because I am across from a window. There's a window behind my camera. I have good, natural lighting. I'm not sort of harshly, lit on one side of my face. I'm set up in what's called a medium close-up, so we're seeing just the top of my head down to just below my armpits. The really simple mistake that I see people make in self-tapes or in their setups all the time is they'll do this, just sort of not looking at their thumbnail. It's like, hello, I'm way down here. So you want to set up for a medium close-up to the best of your ability with the camera about level with your eyes. If you're doing that scene with somebody else, so if it's not by Zoom and you're recording it at home, you also want to make sure that you are much closer to the microphone than anybody else is. All of this is review, but 2 minutes, and then we get to go on to the next thing. There is this term cheating for camera. How many of you are familiar with that? How many of you heard, like, we're going to cheat this for camera? Yeah? Yes? You know this one? Okay, good. A couple of people, right. So the idea, cheating for camera, is I'm going to adjust something for the frame of the camera, right? So I'm going to cheat it into the shot, right? If I'm holding my glasses, I'm not going to say, here are my glasses. I'm going to say, here they are. And if I'm really close up, I'm going to say, like, here they are. I'm going to bring them up into the shot. So I'm going to cheat them into the shot. That's cheating for camera. It means that you often have to make things closer together. And it also means that when you are doing audition scripts, often you'll be asked to do something that is impossible. I want to say impossible, like you can't actually have that thing occur. You're going to tackle somebody or be tackled. You're going to hug somebody or be hugged. In auditions, I've been shot, stabbed, strangled, fallen off of things. Like, this is all really normal, especially in Vancouver, where there are a lot of these kind of sci-fi shows, or for a while, there was a kids horror series that cast here that's come through a couple of times and run for multiple years. So these sort of strange things will come up pretty frequently. Today I want to go over a couple of scripts so that we can then talk about sort of how you would adjust that for the camera. So if you want to start with the script from let's start with the script from Falling Skies. It says Sadie right on top. So I'll post it in the Facebook group. I'll share my screen with you. So Falling Skies was a Steven Spielberg sci-fi show. If you got this, and this is more of a day 3 understanding story, you'd want to go and watch a little clip, watch the trailer, spend a couple of minutes on YouTube, get a sense of the tone of it so you can get the feel of it. It's basically one of these shows where, like, everything's just kind of like gritty and serious, and either people are like talking like this and everything's really serious, or they're like, oh no, the aliens are and they're all like shooting each other and running around and blowing things up. So it's kind of like they kind of go back and forth between them. If you were going out for Sadie, right? That's the name of the audition on the audition sites here. We've got the crossing trials, guns under their eyes, ready to fire. You read the crossed out part before making explain. Another female voice fills the warehouse. Female voice, Sadie, guns on the floor, all of you. The warning blast of an assault rifle jolts them. So because they haven't introduced Sadie yet, it just says female voice. That's where how the characters know her. Female voice, Sadie, and sometimes it'll just say female voice. You know, it won't say Sadie, it'll just say female voice, and you'll have to go, oh, okay, right, it's Sadie. A girl, Sadie, we talked about this last Wednesday and the Wednesday before. The very first time your character appears in a script, their name will be in all capital letters in the stage direction. Steps out, AK-47 leveled at the four of them. She throws a key at Ben and Pope. Get in the cage with them now. So basically, if you're Sadie, you've got to come out, fire your assault rifle, point your weapon at everybody else, throw a key to them. Several minutes later, now this is really normal in a script, there'll be a cut in time, but the scene is continuous. And this happens in TV shows all the time, is that we jump forward a couple of minutes and the conversation kind of continues. If you are Sadie and you're going out for this audition, there is not a cut, right? They put start, they have not put end. This is going to be your job to stitch that together, right? Maggie is pacing. Sadie leans on a crate, unstable manner. A sickening bellow reverberates in the warehouse. Sadie walks, here's the part that's relevant to us today, walks to another section of the storage room to a metal door. She pulls a hanging chain. The door grinds upwards, revealing a dark utility closet. Bolted chain link. In a nanosecond, a creature bursts from the darkness, slams into the fence, bending it, leaving a smear of translucent paste in the lock storage case a distance away, are jolted by the sickening bellow. This is my brother Brian. Okay, so if you're Maggie, you got to come out with your assault rifle, fire it, or at least this is what it says in the script, point it at people, toss them the key, watch them get into the cage, get them in the cage, rest your assault rifle, chill out, talk to them for a second, walk over, open up the storage crate, be like, have your brother throw himself against the fence, talk to the people in the cage, right? Now this is, obviously in the show, it's going to be a whole warehouse. They're going to shoot this in multiple different segments. They're not necessarily going to shoot the whole thing. Does anybody remember, if I unmute you all, from 2 weeks ago where we talked about frame size, right? So we talked about close up, medium shot, long shot. Have you ever been on set and heard them talking about a master? Like, well, okay, we're going to shoot the master for this scene. Yeah, no, okay. Josh, Lincoln, Zara, is that something that you've ever heard before? Where they're like, we're going to shoot the master for the scene. Yeah, you have. Okay, so right, so you're just listening to the production people. It's usually the director that would say that, but basically that means, okay, we're going to shoot the entire scene almost theater style. We're going to from a distance. So they might shoot a master for this entire scene. They might go like, okay, we're going to put the camera on a crane or like here in the corner of the warehouse, and we're going to shoot the whole scene, or at least these whole 2 pages, from the corner of the warehouse. We're going to do a master shot. But then what's going to happen once you get on set, they might do that once, but then they're going to shoot little bits of it. They're going to shoot, okay, these 2 lines are going to come out, you're going to fire the assault rifle, you're going to point it at them, and we're going to do that in your close-up, and then we're going to do that in their close-up, and then we're going to set up for the next piece of the shot. Sometimes they'll only do the master for rehearsal. They'll say, okay, everybody come to set to rehearse the scene, and they'll have you walk through those whole 2 pages of scene so that the production people can see what it would look like. So they can be like, oh, okay, gotcha. This piece happens over here by the cages, and this piece happens over here. And what if we put Sadie up on the catwalk? And what if we put Sadie down here on the stairs? Let's move it around and see what things are like. That's going to be in a long shot. Most everything else is going to be somewhere between medium close up and a medium shot. And so knowing that that's part of your scene when you're on set is going to be useful. And does anybody remember the pro tip for what you would do or sort of how you would know to take advantage of the frame if you were actually on set? So they'd set you up, they'd say, okay, first team step out, and you'd be able to go chill out and grab a snack and whatever. And the stand-ins would step in and take your spot on camera? And then what could you do if you wanted to really know what the frame was and how to take advantage of it? Anybody? Come on. About a week or two ago, I just unmuted you all so you can chime in. You would walk around to what's called Video Village, to the monitors, where they've got the cameras set up and pointed at the stand-ins so that you could see exactly what the frame was like. And then you would know, do I need to bring my rifle up this high or that high? What is the lighting like? What is the frame like? So if you can, especially when you're on set and working, always go and check out what, always go and check out what's showing on the monitor. It's less possible for a independent film, or a student film where they don't have stand-ins for you. But even then, you can ask. You can be like, "Hey, can I get you to stand here for a second?" Or you can, at the very least, sort of step out and see what the shot is like, because they'll usually have a monitor somewhere close by. Okay, so if you're Sadie, and you're doing this in an audition, you can make this quite a lot simpler, right? Like, it sounds like it's a lot of action, but it doesn't actually have to be, right? Obviously, you're not going to fire your assault rifle. I would say that for an audition, bringing in anything that is even vaguely rifle-like is a bad idea. If it really helps you to hold your script and roll it up into a tube, you can. But otherwise, as long as you're not holding it up here, as long as you're holding it the way somebody actually holds an assault rifle, which you could look up on Google Images in 10 seconds, right, it even says what kind of assault rifle here, AK-47. So you can look it up and have a really clear image in your head of the rifle you're holding. And as long as you're holding it down here where the camera can't see it, non-issue, right? So I would say, if I was coaching the scene for an audition, I would say to the person playing Sadie, keep the rifle down where we can, where we can't see it. Mine should be at waist level or below. You come in, you point the rifle at them, right? So we're cutting the warning blast of the assault rifle. I would say cut the throwing the key that's likely to get up in the shot, and it's not actually, strictly speaking, necessary. I can just gesture with the gun. Okay, get in the cage. Come on, get in the cage with them right now. That means I have to have an eye line for the people I'm talking to and an eye line for the cage. Then once they're in the cage, I can relax with the gun. When I walk over to open up, right, I can relax a little bit. Okay, they're in the cage. Cool, I don't need to keep the gun pointed at them. I'm not going to bring it up in the shot. I'm still going to keep it down here. The sickening bellow, so I'm going to have a really clear eye line, for the other part of the warehouse. Walk over to that storage room, but we know from, or hopefully you remember from the last week or two, that can just be a couple of steps, right? So walking into the other room is just that. Boom, I've walked across the warehouse, right? I've walked across my frame. If you're in a video audition, you've got that, right? You've got a lot more width in a video audition than you really need, and so using that to sort of move from room to room, super straightforward, right? If you're in an in-person audition, the camera would follow you, and so you'd have even more flexibility to move. You wouldn't want to go super far, but you'd still have some flexibility there. So they get in the cage, boom, they get in the cage. I'm over here. I know that the eye line I'm going to use for my brothers over there, there's a crazy sound. I'm like, oh yeah, you want to see what's over there? Right, eye lines, eye lines. I walk over, I pull the chain, not up here, but down at waist level, or I open the gate. It doesn't have to be a chain if that feels weird. It's like, well, that wouldn't be at waist level. Okay, great. So now it's a door handle, and it's a particularly low door handle, so it's down by my waist, so nobody's going to see it. I slide that door to the side. Bam! The alien thing hits the gate. I look over at them. This is my brother. Okay, eye lines, physicality, but it's just a couple of steps. Questions? Hey, Luciano. Super straightforward, right? Yeah, it's on paper, it looks like it's going to be really confusing. Okay, so now let's look at Pinoza, Trent, right? So if you are either Trent or Boris, you've got elementary school playground. Trent's leaning against a tree, listening to his iPod. Boris approaches with trepidation. If you know what that word is, you'd want to look it up. Lucas, Boris, return my headphones. What headphones? One on your head. Da, da, da. You're saying, I told them, give me headphones. Trent picks up a pine cone and pelts Boris with it. Don't do that. Trent keeps lobbing pine cones, unaware of the ticking time bomb in Boris' back. First, Boris now reaches, what do you say, Doris? Boris pulls the handgun. Trent rears back. Give me my headphones. Off his intensity, the gun shaking in his hands. So if you're Trent, if you're auditioning for Trent and you got to pelt this kid with some pine cones, what are you going to do in the audition? Give me an option. Either put it in the chat window or say it out loud because there's only 8 of you. Right? Josh, if you go up for bullies sometimes, right? We're just playing one of those. Right? Mm-hmm. So if you're playing Trent and you're going in for an audition, you got to huck pine cones at this guy. What's an option? How can you make that work on camera?
I mean, I don't know, but maybe because maybe this is too distracting to throw.
Right. So it would be if you were up in the shot like that, for sure.
Yeah, it would be too weird and distracting. So I really don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Zara, can you hear us okay? Your video's cut off.
Yeah, sorry, I'm in a really distracting space. I don't really have a voice.
Well, that's great. Thank you for looking after us by shutting off the video. So you said pretend to throw something with your arm. Would you do it up here?
Okay, I should turn on the video. 1 second.
Okay, so
you can pretend to throw something like that.
I suppose you could lob it overhand, but again, we're getting sort of air hand in the shot. Remember the sort of general rule with mime. Exactly, Josh.
Oh, I did. Okay.
You just keep it at waist level. I think the least effective thing to do here would be to leave it out. To be like, I'm gonna cut it. I'm not gonna do that. Because the difference between saying what did you say, what did you say, Doris, and what did you say, Doris, is that one's going to change the way the line comes out, and it's going to give us like, I'm bullying you. Look at me. I don't have to do any work because I'm tucking something at you. Now, when I've coached the scene, I've sometimes right. So if you're recording this at home in an audition, I wouldn't recommend throwing anything at the reader. But if you're doing this at home, I'm like, take a piece of paper, rip it up into 4, ball them up, and you got 4 pine cones. Huck your pine cones at the person reading with you. It's just paper. Just try and bounce it off their forehead. Then doesn't matter where you throw it because you're actually throwing a real thing, right? That's, again, one of the beauties of a self-tape is you can just actually do that. But the one option here would be to do exactly the thing they've said, but just keep it down where the camera can't see it. Oh, yeah? I'm going to throw the pine cones at you. What about the gun? Lincoln, if you're the kid getting picked on, and you've got to reach into your backpack, and grab the gun and hold it in your trembling hand, what are you going to do in the audition?
Hold it at about waist level.
Right? Super straightforward.
Yeah.
What would you use as the gun, Avia, if you were going in for that audition?
I don't know if I'd really bring any prop in. I'd just probably do the shape with my hand so it's less distracting and easier to play with.
Exactly. Would it be acceptable to bring in a backpack, if that sort of made you feel like you were in the scene more?
Yeah, I think so.
In general, I would say that anything that looks like you probably had it with you in the waiting room anyway is okay to bring in for an audition.
Oh, yeah.
Right? That so a backpack, a pen, a sweater, definitely your script. You can use as lots of different things. I've seen people use their scripts as handguns and swords and flashlights and clubs to hit people with and telescopes to look through and even cups to drink out of if they need to. right? So what you don't want is for them to go like, wow, that's a really interesting prop, instead of like looking at your face, or like, whoa, did they go out and get this thing special, for this audition? So you want to keep it really, really simple. But if it helps you be the like, feel like the Trent, the like, kid who's having trouble standing up to the bully, to walk in with your backpack on, so you can kind of hold on to the backpack straps, and then when he starts pelting you with pine cones, to take off your backpack and reach into it and pull out your pretend gun that's going to stay down here at waist level. Great. I think that Via's impulse to not bring in a replica gun of some kind is probably really wise. If it really helps you to hold something, Ebert, the Ebert's been loving scenes, doing scenes about terrible people, and so using handguns is going to be part of those scenes a lot of the time. If it helps you feel more grounded, like if this feels weird, especially in a real audition, I've seen people bring in a pen or a highlighter, right? So they're just holding a thing, and sometimes just holding a thing in their hand just feels a little bit more connected than just holding the hand. Honestly, here there's not a huge difference. So that's sort of about subjective, how it feels for you, right? I suppose if you're holding a pen and it flags into the shot a little bit, then maybe it's a little bit, like a little bit more connected, than so seeing the air fingers, but that's why you keep it all at waist level. Okay. What would be another option, right? Like, so I talked about this in our story session, maybe not last week, but the week before, that you can just adjust it. You can be like, okay, throwing pine cones is not a thing. Like, I'm not going to throw things, and I feel weird like throwing them like I'm skipping rocks, like down at waist level. I'm never going to throw something there. That's weird. So how could you adjust it? Like, what might you do instead? Hannah, what's something else that you could do to, like, if you're the bully, to show that you are physically being aggressive, with this little kid?
Maybe like stomp a foot.
Like to make the sound?
Or like just like a short aggressive like stomping, like, cause like in like a jolt of anger.
Mm-hmm. Right, but like maybe that would have the same effect on your body as throwing something. So if I'm like,
Yeah.
right, so the just don't fall into the trap of making it theatrical, right? The sound doesn't matter. So if the stomping helps
like
you
the movement.
help give us the impression you're getting up in his face, great. Sorry, Hannah?
Like the movement, I meant.
Yeah, exactly. What else? Can you think of another option? What else might work? Lily, you got to unmute yourself so that we can hear you.
You could give them like the way eye contact you give them, like with emotion on your face. You wouldn't want to be like surprised, but you would want to show that you're really angry with your like emotions.
So what we're talking about today is like, how do we adjust the physicality? And I think that, Lily's basic point is like, yeah, you can just like have the feeling of, and that's, if you can't find physicality that works, like a way to use your body to tell the story that works, then Lily's right. As long as it's really clear, just looking at you, that you're pissed at him, or that like you're enjoying, making his life horrible, it works. You could push him, right? Right? I mean, we're only seeing that much, right? As long as I don't go, yeah, as long as I keep the push down here, Doris, come on, like, oh, you want your thing back? Works just as well as throwing pine cones. I'm sure if we kept brainstorming, we'd find 2 or 3 more options. Okay, let's look at that third script. This one's from the 100. This one's a little bit more complicated because there's just more going on. Okay, so I know it's a lot to read all at once, but just stay with me. What we're going to go through here is okay. So if you're Maya 19, this girl, she's cleaning, she's in a hazmat suit. Clark rips off her hood. Okay, so Clark rips off her hood. Maya 19, terrified, deeper fear. Clark's hand flashes up, pressing the shard of glass to her throat, right? Still desperate to get her hood back. Clark presses hard on the glass. Blood seeps from Maya's neck. She maneuvers behind Maya, keeping the glass at her throat, and shoves her through the door. Right, so if you're Maya, we've scene starts here, and already you've got like, I've had my hood ripped off, which, so I'm scared of like getting disease. Then I've got a shard of glass at my neck. All of the things that are written in the script are up here in the shot, and so are going to be hard to pull off exactly the way they're written, right? Because it's hard to keep that exact waist level without making some adjustment to it. Then the person presses the glass into your throat more, looks at you ferociously, and pushes you through the door. Later, you're going to see them, there's more pressure on the glass. You're going to, there's a trail of blood on the floor. You're going to rush towards the elevator at the end of the hall. You're going to reach for a flap on your suit, and you're going to get slammed into the elevator door. Okay, then you're going to do the stuff with your key card, and press the level. So I think the most important things here, are the fact that the helmet's been taking off. So if we're adjusting this, we're okay. Hazmat, the suit, the hood gets taken off. So I'm concerned about contamination. Okay, deeper fear takes hold. Contamination, it's right there in the script. So I'm worried about contamination. The crazy lady's holding a piece of glass to my neck, and I'm worried, that she's going to kill me. And then she keeps pressing it, and it starts bleeding, and she's bleeding, and she starts shoving me around. And so if you're being asked to do that in an audition scene, how might you adjust that for the camera? And if somebody wants to like get up on their feet and show me instead of telling me, that might be even easier. Right, so I was asking you to like sort of be set up for a medium close-up standing if you can, but like get on your feet. Everybody get on your feet. I'll do it too. All right, it's okay if the camera angle's a little messed up. Mine's a little messed up there too. We'll all just shoot up our own noses. And so if you're going in as the person who's having their like hood ripped off, and Lincoln, is there any way to tip your camera up so we can see your face? There you are. Right, if you're going in as the person whose hood is ripped off, and they get the glass held to their neck, if I unmute you all, first things first, how do we do sort of hood ripped off, worried about contamination? Somebody want to try it? Want to demo it or talk it out? Zara, what's your best guess? Remember, there's no right with these things. The important part of the story is that you're worried about contamination, right? So I'm cleaning, I'm not expecting this thing to happen, and then boom, suddenly I'm worried about contamination. I don't have to go, whoa, oh, you took my hood off, ah! Right, I just have to be really freaked out that I'm going to get contaminated. Luciana, you want to just give it a shot for me? Right, so you're cleaning, you're turned sideways, like you're cleaning, you're not looking over here towards the camera, you're looking away, you're cleaning something, and then suddenly, boom, crazy lady comes, and starts getting her disease on you. Okay. Right, so just give it a shot. Just do it. Let me see.
Cleaning.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So he takes it. So his immediate impulse is to take a step back and to give me body language that says, "Whoa, like you're diseased, you're unclean. There's something dangerous about you. You're like, what are you doing? And that's enough. Some version of that I think is all we need. And then what about for somebody who's holding a knife to your neck in the scene?
Maybe just like keep your head up like that.
Right. So if you were workshopping this at home with the camera, the first thing you could do, and I think I recommended this, is always just try exactly what it says in the script. Just try. Like, okay, does it look weird? Well, actually, as long as I'm scared enough, it doesn't look that weird. It looks a little weird because we can see that there's nothing weird going on with my neck, but it's a great place to start, is to try that. Hannah, like if you're like, okay, I took a little video of myself playing with it, like I just recorded on my phone, and it looks a little weird. It certainly feels a little weird, I mean, to me, doing this with my neck, so how could I adjust it to fit the frame? How could I cheat that action into the frame, Hannah?
Would it be okay if like a hand or like an elbow came in and kind of like, not like protect, but like it's instinct.
Like you grab your own throat and hold something to your own throat, like if we're in a meeting close up and I'm like, oh no, please don't hurt me. Like that.
No, like if someone was doing it to you, then you'd like an instinct would be like.
For a taped audition at home, I would highly recommend against it. Basically, we don't want to see anybody except you in the shot. Really good guess though. And I'm sure it's the kind of thing that casting directors see in auditions periodically. Remember the basic thing is like, first you try it exactly like it's written just to see what it feels like, and then you try adjusting it outside of the frame. So instead of glass at your neck, what could be happening outside of the frame that still gives us that same impression, the same threat, danger, story, something that would be a little more actable. I see your hand, Lucian. I'm just going to see if I can take somebody who hasn't chimed in yet. What about you, Lily? Best guess. Yeah, Avia.
I don't know. Does it have to be? Do you have to follow the exact thing? Like,
absolutely not. I think you start there. But what we need is just the story that she could kill you if she wanted to.
Could it be like she's holding a gun up to you?
Absolutely. So it could just be like, oh God, please don't shoot me. And if that does the right things to your body, great. What else might work there? Yeah, see, I had that same thought too, Lily. Well, like, what if I do some of this? I think the time I had to be a security guard strangled by the mummy, I did that, and I like got my own hand into the shot. Right, there isn't a right answer. It's like you gotta find something that feels right to you. Ebert, what about you? What's another way that we could adjust that, but keep the action outside of the shot?
Just maybe pretend it's aiming at my stomach.
Exactly, right? So she's got the knife, but it's down here. So you can get your own hands right there on your belly, and we can't even see them. And if that helps me really feel that like she's pressing the thing in there, because I can press my own hand in if I want, great. So Avia's like, she's got a gun, so I'm just gonna stay up here like, whoa, God, don't shoot me, please. Or Eber's like, it's gonna be a knife and it's gonna be down here in my kidney, and she's gonna keep pressing harder. I'm gonna be able to look down and see the blood trickle and be freaked out about that. And then what about the going down the hallway and then being slammed into the elevator door? Josh, best guess?
I don't know, maybe just like I don't know, maybe just instead of like the walk, it's just like a little walk like that.
Exactly. And then the place where you are, looks like there's a wall immediately behind you, isn't there?
Yeah.
Right. So as long as you don't hit your head on that poster, you try it. You're on this side of the frame.
Yeah.
You take your steps, like, okay, don't shoot me. And then she just pushes you back. You reach for the key card and she pushes you back into the door.
Right.
Exactly. And then we get the whole story.
Yep.
You see, like, it doesn't have to, those couple of steps give us so much story. And the tendency for actors, I think, is to just stay on the mark and be like, whoa, God, don't shoot me. Okay, we're going in. Whoa, you pushed me. And it's like, there's micro movements or no movement. A little bit of movement on camera, as long as you are understanding the frame and what your camera's seeing, can really help tell the story and really help get you into the feeling as well. Lily?
Maybe if you see she has a gun, you can like try and cover like where it's like she might really harm you and potentially kill you, you could probably like cover your heart where if it would probably kind of protect some of that impact.
Sure, I think having like this body posture that says like is protective is in some way that fits you. Is a good idea here. Lincoln.
Or if the person has a knife or a gun, cover up the spot where they're aiming the gun or the knife.
Sure, right. So there's really like I'm making myself small, and maybe that would read really well. So everybody try it, right? You're on this side of the camera. So and just pick one of these versions, that we've got, so we can see them all at once when you watch the tape back later. Right. Everybody start over here on one side. You're not looking towards the camera. You're cleaning. You're like, okay, I'm fine. On when I say on standby, you're starting cleaning. On action, she comes and diseased person gets right in your face, and oh God, I don't want to get contaminated. Then she pulls a gun or a knife and presses it into a part of your body. She pushes you down the hallway and then slams you into the wall. Okay, so if you don't have a wall to slam into, it's enough to like, okay, right? Like as though you've been pushed, right? You don't want to knock anything over. It's just a matter of like, she's getting progressively physical with you, and you're showing that as part of the audition. Okay, stand by. And cleaning, action. Okay, right? And then she's, oh God, okay. And you look at the the gun, or you look at where she's got the knife on you, and you move down the hallway, and you keep looking at her, and then you reach for your key card, and she slams you into the door, right? And so you've got this whole story that you're telling with your body that is extra, that is independent of the scene, but is what it's required that you understand frame to tell that piece of the story, right? You have to have at least some awareness of what the camera sees and how to take advantage of it. Okay. Thanks for staying with me on that one. Does anybody have questions about today's lesson on adjusting action to suit the frame? Okay. Great. Come back tomorrow and you get to meet Olivia Cheng. She's going to be talking about confidence in whatever way she thinks is useful and interesting. Yeah, Hannah.
Is there a limit as to how far we can move off the mark?
Well, if it's a self-tape, right? So if you're recording this at home, then you just want to stay in a medium close-up as much as possible. So there isn't a like fixed rule. But if I end up way back here, you're just not going to see my eyes as much, and so it's going to look like I'm not feeling as much. On camera, it's going to look like I don't have as much feeling because my eyes are so small. Does that make sense? That's why we've got the medium close-up, because we can see your eyeballs nice and big. We're like, okay, we can imagine that we know what they're feeling. We can imagine they can look into their soul and like see all their thoughts and feelings. So this is sort of my style. Like, you ask a very simple question, I give you like a long and complicated answer. There isn't a too far, except of course if the camera can't see you. Like that would be too far.
Yeah.
If you are going into an in-person audition, I would say keep it 2 steps either side of the mark. So behind, 2 steps, 2 or 3 steps back. 2 steps to either side of the camera. Either side of the mark, and don't move forward past the mark, because usually the mark shows you as close to the camera as you can get and look sort of just right. So I like to think of the mark as the front and center of your tiny stage. Yeah, and in class, those of you who've been into the class, biz classes, I'll sometimes mark it out, just like a trapezoid, sort of longer on the back than it is on the front, because the further back you get, the more movement you've got. But just a couple of steps this way and a couple of steps that way, a couple of steps back. Does that answer your question? It's a great question. Okay, let's wrap it up there. I hope to see some of you for Olivia's talk tomorrow. There's also I found a really interesting YouTube video with a bunch of actors from a couple of years ago talking about confidence. So I'll paste that into the Facebook group between now and tomorrow if you want a little bit of extra. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Bye-bye.